Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis. Are you overwhelmed by a CPS case? I'm offering you a new opportunity to change your situation. Join me for a live question and answer seminar where I'll help you navigate the CPS process and help bring your child home. I'll reveal the biggest secrets to winning your CPS case. This is the same strategy I've used for over 35 years to help reunite families. I'll show you the simple steps that work even if you feel like you're out of options. Here's the best part. When you sign up, you'll get exclusive access to my private strategy session where I dive deep into your specific case. This offer is only available to those who attend the live seminar. Don't miss this chance to fight CPS and win. Click the link below to reserve your spot today.
Well, good morning and welcome to my podcast. You listened to a little um, memo about upcoming seminar tomorrow, a Zoom meeting with Vincent Davis, and I hope you all can attend because he is the one that produces this podcast, and he is a dependency family juvenile attorney. That's what he is. He's been doing it for 35 years. And he also is a trial attorney. Anyway, he has a special podcast today at the same time as mine, and so um, go ahead and enjoy it. Right now, you've found the room called Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and you found me on Facebook, and I'm broadcast on YouTube using the StreamYard application. I the child protection uh, system. Now, that is a system that is um, sole purpose is to protect your children from neglect and abuse. But also, there's two other purposes. They're long be forgotten. One is to help out family in needs in the areas of food, clothing, housing, transportation, um, education for the children, and medical for the family, and then also a job. If you need those things, talk to them about that. Also, the third thing is they're supposed to do family reunification. When they take your child who is in imminent danger and they take your child into what they call foster care system, you're supposed to do family reunification because they found that the parents are the best family members, the mom and dad, the best to raise children. Studies have shown that's true. So, all efforts of the CPS system should be family reunification. Sadly, that is not being done. Sadly, we find the child protection system very corrupt, a rogue agency worse than IRS. They lie, and it's very uncharacteristic to badmouth an organization. But so many people, and I'm talking over 500 people, have said the same thing. They take my children that aren't in imminent danger and put them in the foster care system. And it's really hard on families, especially in families that are low income and don't know about the CPS and how it works. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, and then again at nighttime, uh, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There are exceptions. On Sunday, that is tomorrow, I'll be on at 8 o'clock. instead of at 10 because I go to church. I want some time with church, and so that's why I'm not on. Also on Friday Night Lights, which is the high school football season, I have my podcast on Friday in the afternoon at 4 o'clock instead of at 7 o'clock, so I can go to the football game. This last Friday I went; it was a wonderful game, and so on every Friday now, next Friday, I'll do the same thing, and the 3 other Fridays for the month of October. And hopefully, all will join me. If you don't catch what you hear, my shows are pre-recorded, so you can listen to my shows. Um, I try to cover a lot of things. I'm not an attorney. I'm a family man, and I have 41 years of marriage, or actually 42 years of marriage. 10 years with my first wife, who I didn't want to see it end, but she's gone. And of course, my daughter's gone out of that marriage. She was 3 years old at the time. She's My daughter's now in her 30s, and I've tried to reach out to her, but I've not spoken to her. But that's hard. But it's also hard. I've found a life again, and a new wife of 32 years. So that's 42 years of marriage. That's a long time with somebody, or two people, whatever the case would be. But my family's based at 6 children. My current wife and I have 3 children together. And then we have 3 older children. My child from my first marriage, and then her 2 children. They were unfortunately, um, one was a rape when she was 16, which is a hard, tragic thing to go through. And then it happened again when she was in her 20s. Anyway, um, both her children I've adopted, meaning that I treat them like they're my own. Meaning the oldest one is in his 40s, and he's a major in the Air Force. And he's a JAG. He's a lawyer, so he's doing quite well. And that was born out of rape. So people that say that you need to do abortion for rape, I don't know. There's a gentleman that doing well in society. Maybe that's not always the true, but I feel after experiencing that and understanding that, that mothers should think a little bit about things. My wife did, so it's hard. A lot of you are going through the same experience. Some of you have multiple fathers of your children, and the fathers want nothing to do with the children, which is sad because the fathers need to be involved, whether they're a marriage out of it or whatever like that. It should be a two-parent thing, a two-parent thing. My case, I did have a CPS case. It started in 2010. When I was 60 years old, I lost my job. I was going through all kinds of tragedies. It seems like I lost my job through no fault of my own. And I was out looking for work, but I was unknown that a layperson or persons called in and wanted to make allegations that weren't true. They wanted to disrupt our family and steal our 3 younger children. We have beautiful children, well mannered, well educated. But these allegations went on for 5 years. They'd call once a week. It was my wife's father, mother, 3 sisters, and a brother, all in Ohio, that were making up stories like we weren't feeding the kids, that there's no utilities, and they weren't going to school. They're not taking baths. They didn't have clothing. The rooms were a mess. It's just amazing the stories that come up there because I lived in a multi-million-dollar home, like a mile from the beach. I had CCNRs. So um, anyway, they were trying to do that. They were trying to do that. And in 2015, I guess CPS was angered because I've been stalling them off for 5 years and couldn't find anything. They hired a police detective to track me down and then tell me I had to have my house open up to them so they go fishing, so they can investigate. Well, they found something because 5 years later, my father had died and my mother was soon to go too. And I had my parents' belongings in my house, and unfortunately, I didn't have money for storage, and I wanted to sort through them and hand them to families and friends. So I had all the belongings in the house. They filled up the living room. That's the only room that was impacted. The formal dining room with all the antique tables and cabinets and china and everything was well used for 8 people. The kitchen had a center island and nice state of the art stove and trash compactor and gas range grill, and um, it was a nice kitchen full of food. And that's where we prepare the meals. And then we had a kitchen dining area that overlooked the pool in the backyard, and you could have a casual meal there. And then we had the family room adjacent to that, where we had a big screen TV, a fireplace, and warmth and everything there. And then the rest of the house, the downstairs, we had a study, computer room, guest bedroom. And upstairs, each of my children had their own rooms and bathrooms. My wife and I had a beautiful master bedroom, double doors, walk-in closets, each of us, toilet closet, a jacuzzi, French doors off to overlook over the pool, and we had a rock-in pool with waterfalls and an outdoor jacuzzi, or actually a grotto, where you want to call it. And it was tropical on one side, it was English garden on the other side, and then we had my Siberian Huskies on the other side for a dog run. So it was nice and roomy. Nearest neighbor was about 20 feet away, which was great. We didn't have to sit there and shake hands. I was on a sort of a cul-de-sac, so we had plenty of room there. But that home was beautiful. Well, I had to sell that home because I need money to hire an attorney, and that was sad because I need the money, and so I sold the home, something I worked 45 years for. And I know that a lot of you may have encountered the same things, but um, anyway, not only did I lose my children, but I lost my home, lost my credit. Um, it was hard for me looking for work, going through this mess with the CPS. And you all know that. I mean, I was really hitting hard times. At age 65 is when they took my 3 younger children away. My older children were all living away from the home. My oldest child, not the oldest, but the third oldest, moved out when she was 25 when she graduated from college. She lived at home, through her college that I helped her put her through. And anyway, in 2015, the corrupt CPS in Orange County trafficked my children into foster care system, and then also alienated the children from the parents. Alienation and child trafficking is illegal. CPS gets away with it because they say they're legal. They violate your constitutional rights and your civil rights, so be wary about that. I was also trying to contact some of my regulars. Um, Faye is a single woman from Richmond, Kentucky. Danielle is a single woman from Georgia. And Natalie is a single woman from North Hollywood, California. Not, yeah, North Hollywood? No, West Hollywood, California. West Hollywood, California. But they're on my show regularly. We've been having some trouble with people getting to my show, but if you look for me, always look for me. It's Fight CPS Bob Pace, and click the live button, and you should be able to come into my room. Now, there's several ways that you can interact with this podcast, and one of the first ways that you can interact is just by being in this room. Um, you can do things like emojis. That's where you put a thumbs up. Um, you can put a hearts or smiley faces. Also, you can show me with some stars. Get some stars to me. And then besides the stars, you can also, if you want to follow me, check down below. Check down below, and you can follow me. And if you want to be notified and when I go live, check the notification button too. Check the notification button. And that is how basically all you need to do. Now, if you want to express yourself, like make a comment, you can do so. All you need to do is um, type in the comment section of YouTube and type your question or your comment about CPS. We're here to talk about CPS, so we need to focus on that. We need to focus on that. And all I ask you is to show your first name and the city or county you're from, and the state. Now, if you happen to be from outside the United States, you're welcome too. You know, worldwide, CPS is still a problem. So if you're from one of my other countries, and so far I've been approached by 14 different countries, from Bangladesh to New Delhi, India, to a country of the Middle East that was in Arabic, I don't know what country it was, to the continent of Africa, with the countries of Liberia on the west coast of North Africa. And then I had Rwanda in Central East Africa near Lake Victoria, and then Mozambique on the east coast of Africa, opposite from Madagascar Island. And lastly, I've had a province from South Africa on the west coast. Then we go up north to Europe, and I've had England, Scotland, Wales, and then they're part of the United Kingdom. And then I've had Denmark and Sweden also text me in a comment there. Then across the pond, I've had North America where I've had several provinces in Canada and the First Nation Indian tribes. Then in the United States, I've had all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., that have talked to me about their case, including the Native American Indian tribes. Then we go down south to the Mexican border in Mexico City. I had a man that was searching for his daughters, and they're in Louisiana. Then in further South America, I've had Guyana, which is north of Brazil and east of Venezuela, on the east side of South America, on the coast. Then across the Pacific, I've had the land down under. So I've had the west coast of Australia, the Gold Coast, and then I've had on the south of Australia, I've had Melbourne and state of Victoria. Um, so that's some of the interest that I've had there. So if you're from a country, feel welcome, and I'll help you as best as I can. So I'm opening up to anybody that has a CPS case. All I ask is everybody to be courteous to each other and kind to each other. It's a traumatic thing that we're going through. It's very emotional. Also, it helps me too if you are complete with your CPS case, like basically tell me from the beginning and bring me up to speed. So, for instance, what is your family makeup? Are you mother and wife, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend? Are you partners? And then, are both parents involved with the children? Are you a single parent? And then, what are the children's ages and sexes? Like two girls, ages 7 and 8, one boy, age 9. It helps me analyze your question and helps you with your case there. And I'd like to know what you were charged with, more so than neglect or abuse, like more of the details, because there's a lot that goes in there. And then, how were the children handled? Did you give up the children? Did children get taken from the home? Was there imminent danger? Those are things you need to um, talk to in your comments there to me so that I can understand. And then as you tell me how they were taken, then where are you at in your case? Are you at the dependent court hearing? Are you at the end of your case, beginning of your case? So please, uh, you know, finish those with your comment. The same thing goes true um, for phone calls, which I'll show my phone number in a few minutes. Now, the third way to be a guest on my podcast is to be a guest. The third way to interact with the podcast is to be a guest. And to be a guest, all you have to do is email my producer. My show producer is Grace. She works hard behind the scenes, and you can email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And you just put one of my 14 show times. So I said at the beginning of my show times, you can just ask, I want to be Bob's Saturday morning show, or Bob's Friday night show, or Bob's Wednesday morning show. That's all I had to do. It's either morning or night, and then one day of the week, 7 days of the week. And we'll have you as a guest. And I can have up to 19 guests, so play in a room, and you'll be able to see the comments and help out everybody and talk about your case. All you do is email to Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Now, she'll get back to you and give you the link for StreamYard. Don't lose it, because if you happen to get knocked off, use that link to get back on again. It's good through the show. It's good through the show. I can take up to 19 people. With me makes 20 on the podcast. I can take up that many there. Now, the last um, way you can interact with this podcast is to call my phone number. Now, my phone number is up. It is 626-698-0990. And I'd love to have you call me and talk to me. I'll put you on speakerphone. Everybody will be able to hear you, so have your microphone turned up and any background noise turned off. Now, there's another number on my screen. That's the phone number of my office. It's 888-888-6582. And you can call the office if you want to retain an attorney. That's Mr. Davis's law office. I want to thank Mr. Davis for providing this podcast, and he has another podcast going on right now at 10 o'clock. So some of you may be over there. But if you call 888-888-6582, you reach the office. And if you want to retain Mr. Davis or retain another attorney in another area, feel free to do so. Mention that Bob Pace sent you, and that you can have help, whether it's in criminal law, divorce law, you know, whether it's immigration or real estate or your workplace or insurance claims, so forth, they'll have an attorney for you. So just call the 888-888-6582. Now, I usually, after going over my four ways, like being in the room, making a comment or a question, um, being a guest, or calling in, I can go a lot of different directions. I have over 75 tabs opened up that can talk about various things like the ICWA Act of 1978. ICWA stands for the Indian Child Welfare Act. And that was in the United States, and it was an act that was set aside to force CPS workers to find out if the children they're investigating were Native American Indian children. And if so, to make sure if they're registered or could be registered with one of the 548 federal tribes, because they're supposed to turn over the children to the Indian families for family reunification. What's been happening for 150 years, CPS automatically has them adopted into foster care. So they've not been doing their job, but this act tells them they got to do their job. But now the system is so corrupt, there's no one watchdogging the CPS. Um, there's a girl, a senator from Georgia, Nancy Schaefer. Look her up. But she tragically was murdered, and she was fighting CPS. Um, she lost her job fighting for CPS. A lot of people don't like you to talk bad about CPS. Um, it's all right to be outspoken. You can talk about somebody. This is why we live in a democratic society. A democratic society. And, we have freedom of expression in our First Amendment. Sometimes I think it's gone too far. We seem to be bad mouthing a lot of people unnecessary. So there's a lot of turmoil going in this world. There's a lot of things I can talk about, but I try to stay away from politics. But CPS needs help. Um, the people I talk to, right away, they tell me how it happens. Someone makes in an allegation. Sometimes the allegation's false. Then within 24 hours, the CPS social workers come out to investigate. When they come out to investigate, they're on a fishing expedition because they may not have enough information yet about your case. Now, if you're a child and once in foster care, they'll use that against you. I've seen too many mothers that have grown up and have children that suddenly they've lost their children because they're in foster care as a child. And that's why foster care is very corrupt. Of course, CPS too. It's a money making business, is what's happened. It's trillions of dollars every year that CPS is getting accustomed to having. The money goes like water from the federal to the state and then to the county, meaning there's no one watching it. Example, in Kentucky, Richmond, Kentucky, over $1 million is unaccounted for. And they found one part of it, the 400,000, and they have a guy under investigation for embezzlement. They'll eventually find it, but as you'll see, the money gets transferred from the federal to the state and from the state to the county. And you really see what they're doing because I saw it firsthand. When my three children were stolen, put into foster care system, the Orange County agency was getting $20,000 per child per month. That was $60,000. And, if you multiply that times 300 families with three children each, they're getting over $1 million. Over $1 million. So it's a money making thing. trillions of dollars, and it's very corrupt because they have bonus incentives and bonuses to give social workers. Now we're half an hour into the show, and I've yet to see anybody in the room. Oh, I spoke too soon. We have one person come in the room. Welcome. And we request, there's now two people here. Does anybody request me to talk about anything in general? I can talk more about my case, more about what a social worker is. And good morning.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Bob?
Who's this? Yeah, this is Bob.
It's Michelle Porter. I'm the one that's in the chat, but nobody else has been, so I figured I wouldn't let you. I don't know if you don't want to talk. I can talk about this forever and a day.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you, Michelle Portner. What city and state?
I'm done with it. It's Atlanta, Georgia, DeKalb County. I know you guys don't want to do judges anymore. I'll leave the judgment out, but she's in it. And I will say this.
Michelle, can you speak up a little bit louder or turn your volume up? I can barely hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, you know what? Because I'm also in the actual, I'm in the chat too. I'm in the chat too. Okay, let me get it out of the chat. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better, Michelle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting closer to the Wi-Fi. That helps. I need to change the Wi-Fi though. I was trying to go through the comments. Yeah, this is for like roguelike. It needs to be restructured. Like for the healthcare money, because every time somebody takes their child to like a hospital, right? Like they see that as an endpoint. And do you remember? It was like right after COVID that they started stealing the immigrants from the border and then like spraying them with Lysol. Like we were just spraying immigrants with Lysol and then stealing their kids. They actually have a one lawsuit on them because they're still kids that they don't know where their families are. Like they're still trying to find the kids to the family. Like they're trying to mitigate that situation because they just ripped them apart. So speaking, I mean, there's enough proof at this point that they're using it for child labor. I mean, that's very clear that they're using children as child labor.
Have you ever heard of have you heard of Nancy Schaefer?
Yeah, no, we were talking about Nancy Schaefer. So she's Georgia politician. I don't know if you've actually said, but I want to talk up to her 5 children. I want one of her 5 children to actually bring up the suicide note because let's talk about it. The Georgia Patrol or whatever, when they did their investigation, said that there were suicide notes found. Where are they? I can't find them. I cannot find the suicide notes. Can't find them online. Can't find anything. So where are they? And furthermore, she was very connected. She had quite a lot of money. And what they're citing is that they had a lack of finances that caused a murder-suicide that he got overwhelmed. No, sir. I don't know about you, but I know how I was raised, and I bet you I can guess how he was raised if he was from Georgia. And that is not how he would go out. No, he wouldn't kill her. He wouldn't take away her grandbaby. But that's her. That would be. No, he wouldn't have done that to his wife. No way.
Yeah, well, I don't know them personally. I've read a lot of the articles.
No, I don't know him. I don't know him personally.
A lot of stories there, but a lot of the rationality. Yeah, I know. It'd be nice if the kids would. You see what I think what the problem is CPS, when you badmouth CPS, they come after you. I know Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, the police are harassing her every day. She had drones up. She lost her child. She's been fighting her case for 13 years. They just now have a new ombudsperson, and the cabinet's rechanged, and now they're opening up her case. But her case was such that because she was in child care, as a child, she was an unfit mother. I mean, she grew up as a teenager, got sex trafficking by CPS. There's stories that she could relate to. But she went ahead and finished her high school with a GED, and then she went to college and got a nursing degree, and so she can work as a nurse. Well, unfortunately, I should say, unfortunately, she wanted to have a family. So she had two children. She had a son first, who was a special needs child, and then she had a daughter. And
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Do you think that half of these kids that are actually labeled as special needs are actually special needs? Or I actually think that's the way that they're inflating the children. I think they're labeling them as special needs, labeling them as some of these worst things, giving them some of these horrible, horrible. Do you know Bear, a company that is still in practice today, that still sells us just today, actually, like in Nazi Germany, like experimented on women, like, and killed a whole bunch of them, like 150. And then there's a letter from there to Nazi Party asking for another bunch of women. Those were so fun to experiment on. They're all dead, but give us another bunch. Like, I swear, no.
well, I know from firsthand, it isn't okay. For instance, Faye. Okay, take this case here. You remember you talk about the pink ladies in Prescott, Arizona?
Yeah, the thing that I don't think. Yeah,
I mean, any social worker that's been doing social worker for 25 years, why would they buy pink shirts and they have it stenciled on the front, professional child kidnappers, and on their back, do you know where your children are at? And then they parade it around at big places like Costco, Kmart, Walmart, Target,
It's
Best
almost like it's a
Buys.
gang, and they know that, like, it's literally the irony that, like, we're in Rico Central, right? Because Fannie Willis in the middle of Atlanta is like, she's having to step down because of this whole Trump thing, right? But she's known for her Rico stuff, is the racketeering. But the irony of the racketeering stuff, they put all of the teachers down for the racketeering, but it was the administration and the principals that were actively telling them if they did not meet adequate yearly progress, that they were not going to actually get the money to take care of the kids. So they were sitting there telling the
There's a
teachers,
lot of
putting
stories
them in a
about
fearful
quotas.
state.
About quotas, they're
Yeah.
paid. If you don't get your money, you won't. We won't get you the money if you don't get your quota. They
It's
actually
that
are
No Child Left
quotas.
Behind. The No Child Left Behind is actually structured for slavery. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, that No Child Left Behind was, I think, done by President Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and where they will pay incentives to people if they grab children into foster care. There's a lot of children that don't need to be in foster care. See, the reason why they're
Yeah,
in
they just
foster
get
care,
money.
they need the money.
It's
It's a
the way they
$1 trillion
funnel.
money.
Yeah, they funnel that
And
federal
so
money into
anybody
the
that
state.
stands
That's how
up
they
to
get the federal money.
CPS, yeah, anybody that stands up to CPS really has run the risk of their life in danger or their livelihood ruined. You know, um, I know
Yeah, I know that.
firsthand
Speaking of this sort
about
of
the money. You know, and I cite examples and I try to be very specific. And yes, in Faye's case, it is a special need. Her son is autism, which is hard for him. He cannot drive a car. He cannot hold a job steady down. And so she has to feed him. She has to provide transportation so he gets to the doctors. You know, her son has special needs. The sad part is the Richmond, Kentucky child protection system said, "Oh, you're a good parent to take care of your son, but you're a bad parent to take care of your daughter." How can you be a good parent with
No,
one
that's
child?
just because they want to indoctrinate. No, they're trying to indoctrinate.
No, they wanted to adopt her daughter because her daughter's beautiful, and the parents that want it, yes, I know. And the problem is with the
It's that Project 2025 stuff.
well, the foster care system is corrupt. Because here's what it is: if you want to adopt a child, the easy way to adopt a child is go to CPS, become a foster parent, and within a couple of months with very little training, you'll suddenly be able to adopt a child. The normal process of adoption, you have to be vetted first. You have to go through a background check, both at the state level and the federal level. And then you got to meet the child. I mean, there's a long process and it's very costly. But in CPS, they have tons of CPS families that want the money. They're paid money for bringing the children to them to take care of. The problem is that the foster care's own children will molest the foster care children. or actually the parents will molest the foster care children. There's nothing stopping them, and they have very little training.
No,
And
they do it, and they're intentionally doing it to families to break them up, and then the family, yeah, I know, and then they're
yeah,
taking advantage of the fact they're over sexualizing children with all these Disney movies. That's a whole nother Epstein conversation.
well,
We ain't
yeah,
going there right now.
yeah, well, yeah, it's definitely, I see kids that are in fourth and fifth grade hanging out with the kids that are in seventh, eighth, and then of course the high school. And you have to understand the things that they wear and the things that they do may be okay for a 16-year-old, but not okay for a 10-year-old. And they'll get themselves into a lot of trouble that way. So our children are not being protected from neglect and abuse. There are thousands of cases every day that go unreported. And what I want to do is that I want the reporting phase of allegations to be in writing and signed by the person who's making the allegations. People, when they're
I
asked to
agree to
sign
that.
something,
Amen.
people that
Amen to
agree
that.
to sign, are going to be a little bit more careful than putting their name and sign it. Because when you sign something, you're testifying that's the truth that you speak. So if you're going to call a family out on it and have the children removed,
Otherwise, it's just allegations because if you're not going to put
yeah,
your name to it, then we can't call you to court about it, right?
no,
So if
well,
you're not going to,
here's what the problem
if you're not
is.
going to, I'm going to say this:
CPS
if you're not
is
willing to go to court about something, you
no,
probably like
no.
then you're just causing shit in other people's lives.
Yeah,
If
well,
you didn't really think that like what
C,
was happening was that
right.
bad.
Well, here's the problem with CPS. You are guilty when an allegation comes in over the phone, and the CPS social worker writes it down, that person's allegation. They will contact within 24 hours, and you are guilty until you're proven innocent. So they want to come out and
But that's
investigate.
not the way that the law works
No,
in the
but
United
that's how they are
States.
working it. That's how they'll come out
But I
and they
understand
take
that.
your
I
children.
understand, but that department is within something called the United States of America's federal government, and that has to operate within that. So I
The
get
federal
that they're
government's
saying imminent
corrupt.
danger, imminent. But even in the state of Georgia, they've already said that like it's and the way that they said it, and I'm just quoting what the Supreme. I can tell you the court case too, but he said it's parcel and part parcel and parcel or project, or I don't know, parcel and package, but that's what you're like they're considered like an organ almost. So like you can't sell people's organs here. So equally, you cannot sell people's children. You cannot take an
Well, they
organ away from
traffic.
its mother plant.
CPS legitimately
Yeah,
traffics children, meaning they make up the allegation. Well, they don't make up the allegation. The allegation's called in, and they believe the allegation is true, and they come and they do an investigation. And upon coming out, their sole purpose is to take that child. They want them in foster care so they can start collecting lots of money. And I'm talking about lots of money. I mean, $1 trillion
oh,
is a
I
lot
know.
of money.
They get head. Yeah, that's another reason they want to confuse the head count. That's another reason they confuse. That's another reason they don't care if their paperwork's straight or not. And that's why what is it? The NICMIC, the National Institute for Exploited and Missing Children. They've called DFACS out so many times on their wrong numbers. They're just like, here's some independent data that says no. Like, just go. Oh my gosh, some of those people are really on point. They got some good data over there.
Well, there's 400,000 children every year being investigating. And of the 400,000, I don't know, I'd probably say 75% of them are in custody, in the CPS.
Last year in October, about this time, they had three judges testify that they actually asked DFACS. The whole department came to the judges and asked them to house foster kids for them. They're like, you should house foster kids in the jails for them because they didn't have places to put them. And then they've got clips, you've seen the clips of like just social workers flat out telling like teenage foster youth to like go be in the sex trap, just go like sell your body and like make some money having sex. Like there's like recorded, like you can look up social foster youth to be prostitutes. I think you can look it up. There's a video. There's many videos of it.
Well, here's some stats to think about. And again, the accuracy of these stats, I mean, this is from Google. I'm not saying they are, but the number of investigations before turning the age of 18, which is, a minor child, is 37.4% of children in the U.S. will be investigated. 30.4, that's almost half of the population of children in the United States will be investigated. And then they say in 2022, CPS received 4.276 million reports of child maltreatment. Over 4 million of maltreatment there. Then they say further, they say that number of victims in 22, 7.5 million children were involved in child abuse reports. And the type of abuse in 2022, 74.3 were neglect.
How many of those? Here's the problem with this data. How many of those reports are from the foster parents that are fucking housing them in the first place?
They don't separate that. I know.
They re-report it, right? They re-report it.
Right.
It's not these. How much of these are bio parents?
Yeah.
How much of these are bio parents?
Yeah. Well, 74% are neglect and 7% are abused. And then 10.6% were sexually abused and 6.8% were psychologically maltreated. In 2022, an estimated 1,999 children died from abuse.
That's great, but that's like skewed data to begin with, because I want to know the data of bio parents versus non-bio parents, because that's really the thing.
Well, we have to go and study that. We'd have to go spend some research. Yes.
Well, they should, because they either didn't or they couldn't have a bio kid, so they chose to help or take somebody else's bio kid.
Well, the number of abuse reports in 2021 made by lay people, not professionals, was 43%. 43%. Are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm just
Good.
processing.
There was somebody that was trying to call in, and I can only talk to one person at a time.
Oh, yeah. If you got another caller, go
No, it's fine. This is fine.
I talk faster than I type, obviously.
Do you know what race is supposed to be investigated?
I appreciate your show, Bob.
Do you know what race is investigated? Black children are reported twice as often as white children.
Yeah, no, that's and native, like any sort of native blood, you're fine. Oh, here's the thing. I used to work for Canada down in the San Antonio.
You worked for who? I'm sorry. You work for who, Karen?
I'm not going to talk about this.
Oh.
I work for Canada, but I don't want to. I'm now thinking about this because I'm going to tell a story, and I don't want it will be very specific.
Okay.
Very small. So in Southern California, okay. I worked for Canada. One of the communities that I worked for, they wanted me to write up this girl, and she was like 17, and she's being a 17-year-old. Like I will say, she made me cry. I will say that, but I wasn't going to write her up because she made me cry, because she made a good observation. I can't help it. It made me cry. But, it was a fine interaction. Like, our supervisor was there. It was fine. The supervisor wanted me to write her up and try to get her out of this TANF program. And I was like, no, I feel like we just had a misunderstanding, and, like, I'm not trying to do any sort of reprimand on her. So she had another teacher write her up over this incident to get her out of the program. Come to find out, they just didn't want her in that program because she was listening to her mother, who was like head matriarch of the whole community, and she was being sort of belligerent or angry about them building a gas station and the whole community, because they were trying to get local money and like people to stop at the property so that they would actually have an income and they wouldn't have to sell off so much of the land. So like it was literally like they were just the concept of having to play the game or having to like put a gas station on your land so that people will like give you the resources that like should be yours in the first place. It's just hard for some of these communities. Like it's just not. It's unfathomable. Like who are any of us to like go into somebody's life and try to strip that apart? Like, I don't care who anybody else is. Like, if you're going to interact with somebody, it should be softly. Like, it should not be in a way that's that abrasive. And when it's that abrasive, you have to ask why. And there obviously is incentive for why. And those incentives are not pure-hearted, I believe.
Uh-huh. Well, what do you think your solution is to correct the CPS? Like Nancy Schaefer wanted to abolish it and start over again with the CPS system.
Well,
So, what do you think?
I mean, it would have to be the financial restructuring, but you can't financially restructure something without it. I mean, that's the whole thing that gets us so much politics, right? Because like, how do you financially restructure everything? Like everybody's arguing and everything about that. And it's a huge election year, and this is a very big way that people get funding, right? It's just easier to strip the inventory and make it a number that you can understand. But in the numbers, like when you lose the familial ties, the numbers don't mean anything anymore. Like those numbers are absolutely meaningless. They could be inflated. You really don't know. Those children and those numbers could be counted 2-3 times, right?
Right.
Because if right, like you really don't know what those numbers represent.
Right.
So it's gotten to the point where we can't even talk about stuff honestly. We can't even talk about the fact that it's political, and that's why they're taking kids. I mean, why did China have a one-child policy, right? For a long time, they were killing their girls, right? We got like for what the whole early '90s, we'd get a bunch of like Chinese young women over here because people would adopt them because they had the one-child policy, right?
Right, and now they've stopped that one-child policy because they now have a shortage of population.
Yeah, but you think about that now. If those children go back, like think about like what created that policy, right? There's this idea that there's not enough resources on this earth. But
well, I think a
right?
committee has got to be set up at the Congress level, and that committee needs to be
That's why Nancy was there.
right. But that has to be a committee that has to meet regularly and have some goals, and they have to report to Congress about their improvement. And then it's like here, I've talked to over 500 some people or more. I've talked to every state. I've talked to Washington D.C. And again, the people I've talked to, 99% of them have said that CPS has abused the system, that they've taken their children when they're not in imminent danger. Now, and then
there is incentive. It will continue to happen as long as there is incentive for them to put the children as a number. When you see children as a number, and this is the whole thing. If you look at good educators, that's the whole thing. You never like when you're advising of somebody about what class to take, right? You always say get somebody that can have some one-on-one time with you that can explain the topic to you, right?
Right,
like,
Karen. Right,
Karen. The bigger classrooms when you go to college, those like big 400 auditorium classrooms, you never learn anything. Like there's just too much going on. Like you never learn anything unless somebody's like really directing you. So once you lose the familial ties, like they explicitly try to cut that off just for the numbers, just because it's easier for them to like sell and manipulate the numbers. Because then at that point, if I don't have my children in front of me, they've sold them off, right? And then I don't know where they are. Then they can inflate that number however much they want or deflate it.
Well, I think we have to educate social workers.
They can kill the children and I never know, right?
Right. We have to educate social workers. Right now, there is no, in California, you do not have to have a college degree or a high school diploma to be a social worker in the child protection system or services in California. You don't even have to have a license, and you go through very little training and very little mentoring. Now, what I mean by mentoring is that when you become a social worker, I'm afraid you're going to have to mentor for at least 5 years to prove that you know enough about how to handle families. Now, what you do is you ride along with another social worker and you listen, who is a social worker that maybe has been doing it for 25 or 35 years, dealing with families, and hope that's a good one that's being mentored. But There is no mentoring, there's no license, there's no education, and there's no training. So without that, look what you have with social workers. All they're doing is given, it's like, they have a carrot on a stick. Here's a carrot, here's
Yep.
$1,000 if you bring in X number of children. And that's all they look at. My social worker,
This
and I'm talking,
conversation.
I'm talking firsthand.
Okay, I didn't-
My social worker, who forcefully stole my daughter, and she knew it
Yeah.
because she knew the system, but she had no education, and she talked every week about her makeup, her eyelashes, her clothing, her Gucci purse, her BMW car. That's all she talked about. That's how she was making a living
Yeah.
there. And so what she did is she told
Well,
my daughter when
Balenciaga
she
got
was
in trouble for all that kind of stuff,
right when she was
Balenciaga got in trouble for child sex trafficking.
right. But
You
what
know that, right?
right, I do.
Okay. So
But-
we know how those. You see how big full circle that is, right? Like these big
Mm-hmm.
brands make it the coolest thing to own their thing, and once you wear those things, you get attracted to certain things, and then people treat you certain ways. The way that those ads tell them that
Right.
sells. They're selling the children. They're literally selling the children, like Balenciaga.
Yeah, they well, what she did to my daughter is that she said to us as parents when she lied in court and she committed perjury, because she was lying about there was no domestic violence with the people that were adopting our daughter, and we were against it. And my attorney, Vincent Davis, brought up all these reports and said, how come we have these reports of physical domestic violence with these people? And she just lowered her head. But she told us parents, you're never going to see your daughter. You know what she did? She told our daughter, who's age 12, you're going to emancipate from your parents. You're going to divorce. You're at age 12 in California, you can emancipate from your parents. And so she said, you divorce your mom and dad, divorce your brothers, divorce your grandparents, divorce your aunt and uncles and cousins. You're going to change your name. And she completely changed her name, got rid of her first, middle, and last name. Then she sealed her birth certificate so she could get another birth certificate because she got adopted by a foster care family that later abused her. She's now 22 years old, living with my oldest daughter, but she has been so messed up. She still hasn't talked to us since age 12. And so my sons do talk to her brothers, and try to keep in touch. But I'm just telling you that the epitome of a social worker is that social worker who took the bonuses, who lied. They lie so bad. There's so many cases of lying on the court.
Oh yeah.
But Karen, I really thank you calling in. I'm glad that you did. What I'm going to have
I'm
to
glad.
do,
I hope you have a better day. And
yeah, I am going to have to
Got
end
it.
this show because my time is up, and I want to. I'll talk again tonight at 7:00. So all you listeners out there, but Karen, thank you for calling in, and this is Bob Pace signing off. I'll be again on at 7:00 tonight Pacific Standard Time. There's a short ad afterwards, so I'm going to say good day to you all, and keep fighting your children.
Hi, I'm Attorney Vincent Davis. Are you overwhelmed by a CPS case? I'm offering you a new opportunity to change your situation. Join me for a live question and answer seminar where I'll help you navigate the CPS process and help bring your child home. I'll reveal the biggest secrets to winning your CPS case. This is the same strategy I've used for over 35 years to help reunite families. I'll show you the simple steps that work even if you feel like you're out of options. Here's the best part. When you sign up, you'll get exclusive access to my private strategy session where I dive deep into your specific case. This offer is only available to those who attend the live seminar. Don't miss this chance to fight CPS and win. Click the link below to reserve your spot today.